No. Yeah, so again, good day class once again. And yeah, we're making progress. Again, we'll be building on what we did the last class, because this pipeline thing is very important. It's like the center of DevOps. So, and I want us to get very familiar with, especially Jenkins interface. Again, there are a lot of continuous integration. That's what they call Jenkins and stuff like that. Continuous integration tools, Jenkins, Bamboo, Cycle CI, GitLab, they love them. I'm working on one currently. They call at my job, they call it Cycle CI. It's completely different from Jenkins, but it built pipeline too. That's it. So, but if you know one very well, you are good. Even interviews, you are good. You let them know Jenkins. Jenkins is what you've been using. So nobody expects you to know because it differs from companies. Just that Jenkins is most popular among the two. But there are a lot of them. But once you know one and you know it very well, you'll be able to talk about it and answer any question relating to that. So I'm going to slideshow. I don't know the shortcut for this. Okay. Yeah. So today we're just going to be talking about what we did from last class. Then we'll talk about artifacts, Artifactory. Then we talk about Tomcat Server, pipeline, and Jenkins again. Then we go to the lab part. So again, last week we talked about continuous integration, how the concept where developer will continue to commit their code into Git repository, and the automation will trigger from there. The code will be built, will be packaged, will be tested. We then include test and the last one there. Those are what continuous integration is about. Then the output will be the artifact. What we saw last week, the .war file that we saw that was after the building stage. We see the output, which is the .war file. So, this stage, it's, continuous integration. And again, we talked about it last week, that is very important. And the GitHub, which is the source control, is like the center of continuous integration. And, I remember someone asked about, integrating Git with Jenkins. And I'm like, okay, it's almost like compulsory. We have to like integrate it with Jenkins because that is the main concept of, continuous integration. You want Jenkins to pick up any changes that was made on the code and, run through all the process and deploy it. So, yeah, so that's continuous integration. Then we talk about Maven, how it works. We saw the POM file. You see how the hierarchy of Maven, some of the file structure that Maven has, and Maven is very powerful in building applications, especially Java-based application. There are other tools as well, like Gradle. You can also build it with Docker. Docker is image-based. So again, we'll be using Maven for our project, in this class. So we saw Maven last week. We installed it on our Jenkins server. Then we integrated with the Jenkins, so that Jenkins will be able to build application with it. We'll be able to build our code with it. And then, we generate a Maven code, like a demo code, kind of, not a real code, but, like a demo.
Excuse me, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Remember, like when we cloned our repository in the CLI, like the Git bash, and then we now installed the Maven.
Yeah.
The Maven was not installed in the repository. It's just like creating a folder or what?
Exactly. Yeah. That command that we ran, that long one, MVN, that's blah blah, generate whatever, is just to like generate a, like, you see when we ran that particular, it just like generate like a folder inside our repository. So that folder is just like a Maven based application. It's just like a what developer will be using, just like the code the developer will be working with. So that's what Maven just generates, yeah. But it's different from, at first, before we did that, we installed Maven, because if you run the MVN command without Maven installed, the command will not work. It will tell you that Maven is not found in that distance. That's why we first installed Maven on that machine before we could generate that folder you saw. So that folder, we just use it to like demo a real life application that developer will be using. So, but it's like a small folder, that have some of what the Maven, because Maven, again, if you see here, it has a lot of what they call dependency plugin. There are so many things there. And again, when they are building application, it's not just the code itself. There are other things that have to be built together with the code. There are other things they call dependency, various things that need to build together with the code before it can work the way it's supposed to work. So that's what that folder. So if you see when I ran the command tree, you see the structure of that folder. It has different hierarchy. The pump file was there and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what that command was there. So we just use that to generate, and that was the folder we pushed to our GitHub, and then yeah, so that's like the source code. So then I want to talk about artifacts. Artifacts are like the output, byproduct of a software. Last week, if you remember, when we built the application, I went to the workspace in Jenkins. Then you saw this file under target. It says something .war. That is the artifacts. After Maven, from this chart you see now, Maven will do the build, we do the packaging. Then the output will be the artifacts, which will be .war in our case. In some case, it could be .jar, or it could be .ear, it could be maybe .php, or .exe if it's like a Windows-based application, So, but that is what artifact is, and this is very important, because this file is what will be deployed to different environments, what they will use to like run the application itself. Again, today you are going to see what we're going to do with this artifact. We're going to work with this artifact. So I just want you to get the concept how artifact is. This one says that with a code artifact, a software programmer can test the program in detail and perform things before launching it. So this artifact, developer can use it to do a lot of things. They can perform tests based on it. I don't know how to do testing. There will be software tester, people specialize in testing application. But this artifact is what they will use to test the whole thing. You understand, to know, how the application perform, do everything. So example are the WAR file, the jar file. Again, if you remember from last week, it was when after we build the application, after we build it, we run build, it generates that particular file in our Jenkins, on our Jenkins console under the workspace. I will show that again today, but that's what artifact is. Then, there are some applications they use. We'll be using one of them in this class too, because again, I've had the interview, they will ask you that, okay, have you worked with JFrog artifact, Artifactory, Nessus? So these are the two common type of Artifactory management. So basically, or artifact management. So basically, these tools, what they do is that you can store your artifacts inside there. You can store all this WAR file, because again, these are big companies that are working on several projects. Like you say, our application, we just have one Maven application we are building. It could be 15, 20 different, application they are working on and stuff like that. So they will have this WAR file, a lot of them. They will have a lot of WAR file, depending on, because each time they build the application, they will get the WAR as the output. Just like when you zip a file, when you zip a folder in Windows. So there will be a lot of all these artifacts. So there are some applications. Again, these are like applications you install on your machine, like Ubuntu, this thing. So, you know, this Nexus and this JFrog Artifactory, they are the most common type they use to store artifacts. You know, you can store them, then you store them inside this Nexus or JFrog. Then, you know, developer can retrieve it from there. They can copy some of them and work with it, you know, do things with it and stuff like that. Again, we are going to integrate one of them to our pipeline. So basically what happens is that they used to integrate them to the pipeline, you know, then automatically once Jenkins do the build and do the package, it will just take the artifacts, put them inside one of these, maybe put it in Nexus or maybe either of them, you know, they do similar stuff. So but these are the two common type they use. I'm still thinking maybe we use Nexus also, but you know, both of them are common and they work in a similar way. So but you know, you store your artifact with it. You're going to see a lot of .jar, just like our GitHub, you know, but what Git is different because it's source code. Git doesn't store artifacts. It doesn't store binary file. You know, they can call it binary or whatever. But Git only store like a code, just a raw code, you know, nothing. But this is like, you know, again, this is like a file, which is like a packaged file, which is artifact. So you don't store those on Git. You know, you store it in somewhere like Nexus or, you know, Artifactory, JFrog. But these are the two common ways they use it. So they can push it there, you know. I've worked with it, the first company I work with, they use this JFrog Artifactory. You know, they have a lot of jar file there, WAR file and everything. I mean, most companies use them, you know, because they want to store their product, the byproduct. Again, from the definition of artifacts here, you know, it's just a byproduct of the software. After you build the software, you package it, the output is the artifact, So, you know, you have to store it somewhere before you use it. You can deploy it directly, like what we're going to do today. We are just going to deploy it directly. We are not going to store it anywhere. So once we build it, we are going to deploy it into another machine completely. Then you see how that works. So talking of Tomcat Server, this is what we basically be working on today. You know, it's an application server designed to execute Java servlets and they render web pages. It's very popular, you know. I think most top companies, they use Tomcat Server. You know, it's just a server that hosts our application. You know, you see last week after we build the application, we cannot access it. We only see the Wi-Fi. There's no way to access it. So now the Wi-Fi, we need to like put it somewhere to before the user can see it, before they can see the product of our application. So where we put it is the Tomcat. You know, again, this Nexus is just for you to store it, manage it, and do stuff. The end user cannot see anything from a Nexus or so. But where you will be seeing the application itself, you know, when you go to their website, you know, it's Tomcat Server that is holding the application. It's just like a small container, you know, that has the WAR file inside it, you know, and from there, you can, from the IP address or whatever, you'll be able to see the content of the application itself. Today, you're going to see what we are going to do with this, this particular Tomcat. You get a clearer understanding on how it works. So, but again, just know that it's a server, based application. You know, it's an application. Again, we are going to install it on Ubuntu, you know, on a fresh Ubuntu server. You know, we're going to install it there, access it from port 8080 again, you know, then you see the application running there. So the Wi-Fi that we build there, we're just going to deploy it inside the artifact, inside there. You know, these are some of the common server that are there, you know, JBox, Jelly, you know, again, you see Tomcat is very popular among them. You know, they use it, it's lightweight, it's open source, it's free and easy to deploy. So again, I've not really worked with any of these, but I've heard of WebLogic before and some other one, but Tomcat is very popular in the Java-based world. So, so again, this is what we're going to last week we built the application, with Jenkins again, which I'm going to show you guys. Then we package it, and that's when you see the WAR file coming out of it. Now the WAR file, we are going to throw it on this Tomcat now. Tomcat will be another EC2 running. We're going to connect it with Jenkins that, okay, Jenkins, once you are done building this application, put it in Tomcat so that I can access it, so that user can view it. So Jenkins will run all these stages. This is like a basic pipeline there, this is very basic, build, package, then, deploy to Tomcat. So basically, this is the three things we are doing. So today, we are going to integrate this Tomcat with Jenkins. First, we're going to install it on another EC2. Then we are going to integrate it with Jenkins, such that Jenkins can build the application, package it, then just throw it to Tomcat. So we'll be able to view it from Tomcat, what our applications is doing. Then again, today you're going to see you're going to get clearer understanding of, how this CI/CD, when we make a code change, what will happen. We're going to access our server, our application from this Tomcat, because that's where we can access it. So
is Tomcat the final process in building of pipeline?
In our case, yes, but not in all cases. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, but this is like a basic thing, but this is like the end, depending on the company, the requirement, you can deploy to Kubernetes. I don't know if you've heard of Kubernetes before. If you are using like a Docker image, you can, based on this thing. But in this case, in most organizations, they are working with like this thing. So Tomcat will be like the end result, server. This could be like 20 server running this Tomcat. You understand? So they will just throw everything on the there's an advanced way to like do all those things, to like put everything, deploy everything into all the Tomcat server that is available. So automatically everything you'll be able to access. Some of the website you access is directly coming from Tomcat, but you wouldn't know, you just see the IP, the websites, So again, today you're going to see from the IP address, we'll be able to access the website. From the IP address of Tomcat, we'll be able to access the website, So yes, in our case, it will be like the end product, again, in some situation, you can have like this Nexus to be the end part of it. That means you don't want people to access it. You just want to like, so in some organization, it will be something like, okay, they will deploy it to Tomcat, at the same time, they will deploy it to Artifact. So also, in some cases, they will deploy it to Artifact first. Again, from Artifact, you can do a lot of things with the file. You can run more testing on it and stuff like that. You can, in some cases, in most cases, companies don't want to deploy directly to like Tomcat because it's dangerous. That means when developer make a change, a code change here, the application will run the build stage automatically. It will package it automatically. It will deploy it to end user. It's kind of dangerous because if developer push some kind of stupid code to the GitHub, the end product will be, it can bring down the website, can affect the user like completely. So in most cases, in between this place, they can have like artifacts, where they will perform more testing, they will play with the artifacts, see that everything works perfectly well before they now manually deploy to Tomcat. So they do it that way. So the Tomcat would be where the user will be seeing the application itself. All these things, there will be testing in between all these things. There will be automated testing, that everything will just, Jenkins can take care of all these things. Pipeline can be more. This is a very basic pipeline. You can have 7 different stages. You can have testing, you can have code scanning, you can have different things. So, before it gets to like all these stages, but this will be like the end product where user will be able to access the application, and it will be a Wi-Fi that will be deployed. So again, there's another pipeline structure that you're seeing there. Again, just don't, from this source code, you see the git push we used to do in the class, git push, Git commit, all the stuff, So from this source code, it will build it. Forget about the Docker build here, that's just another this thing. This could be Maven here. Of course, it's Jenkins that will be taking care of most of all these things, but this build will be done by Maven inside Jenkins, just like the way we did last week. Maven is inside Jenkins that is doing the build. The testing as well, there are tools that you can install with Jenkins that will test the application, then you do the deployment. So the deployment can be Tomcat Server, the end product can be Tomcat Server or, anywhere, or this can be like Artifactory, like the JFrog I talk about, that will be hosting it. You see the QA are quality people, they will do more testing. Then the final one can be like a Tomcat Server, where production is where you don't want to mess up with things, and that's why in between here you see QA. QA will make sure that everything, it's perfectly. This can be just artifacts, running here, So QA will perform more testing on this guy, make sure everything is okay before they do it to production, because production, they don't joke with production environments, It's they call it prod production and stuff like that. So they don't play with it. That's where the users see the application. Other stages like this staging, it's still within the company, they still playing around with the application, trying it, testing things there, and trying to see if it is okay, but once QA people approve it and everything looks okay, it will go to production, which is the main place that you see the application. So all these things can be done automatically, right from the first point that, developer will push the code, just do git push, PAM. So everything, this thing will run automatically. These tests will be automated as well. It's automatic. The deployment tool will be automatic. And, these are basic pipeline structure. These are our pipeline. As you can see from top here, it's a pipeline, automates your software delivery process. These are big deal. You may be looking at it like, okay, it's big deal to companies, the process is very, if it is manual, they have to do this one separately. They have to, it takes time. It's error prone, because they have to be running the command, doing all those things, but if you have everything set up in like Jenkins, just push, enter, just do git push like this, and everything will be triggered, just like, that's why they call it pipeline. Everything will be triggered one by one. And if it fail anywhere, it will break. Like, for example, if the test stage fail, it will notify the developer that, okay, this stage failed, then, they can test it and stuff like that. So these are the importance of CI/CD. And again,
yeah, please, Ken, I want to ask a question about the pipeline that you made mention. Is this same pipeline that they used to convey flowed water, or are you just using that terminology as a pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, the concept is, of course, this is not in water and stuff, but, the concept is very similar to like the real pipeline, because, but in this case, is the code that is running, not water. We are not doing plumbing. So, exactly, but, the concept is the same. It's a pipe, with different stages, and, from one end, you want to push your code, then you want it to come out on the other end. So that's like the concept. You see this arrow going from stages to stages to stages and stuff like that. And that's why they call it pipeline. Just like the normal natural pipe we see, you put water in the input, you get something outside coming out. So, but in between, again, for code to become what you see, it go through a lot of stages.
Process.
Exactly, a lot of process, a lot of this thing. So they, they compile it, they build it, they do testing, they do, a lot of things, they do backup. So it takes time. If there's no pipeline in place, they have to be doing this thing manually. It takes time, it's error prone, it's not effective, especially companies working in a very large scale that they need to get their code outside, they need to reach this production as quickly as possible. So, so this is the main concept in DevOps, the pipeline CI/CD, and that's what they call CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So it's keep continuing like that. So the pushy part, you see, we're going to demo a very basic one today. We're still going to do some advanced pipeline. We're going to demo like this stage, today, and you see we'll be able to access the web immediately. We push it from here. We'll be able to access our this thing. Then today's lab again, we're going to just go briefly over, the Jenkins we worked on last week, the build process and everything. Then again, we're going to launch another EC2. I'm sorry, I should have maybe given you a heads up to like do this ahead of time to install EC2 Ubuntu based, but it's something you can do in 2 seconds or whatever. So then we're going to install Apache Tomcat. The configuration is kind of a little bit tricky. So, but again, it's nothing to really worry much about. Just, again, I had to like look it up as well, see how to, set Tomcat Server up and stuff like that. So you don't really have to be, the nitty-gritty of, like, okay, Tomcat installation or whatever, you can always, but, understanding the concept on how it works, especially with Jenkins, and then, where you can deploy your application is very important. Then we're going to update some of the configuration. We're going to integrate it with Jenkins, because it has to talk with Jenkins. When we build the application, we want to deploy it to Tomcat. So, we are building it in Jenkins, right? Through Maven. Maven is in Jenkins. So we are building it in Jenkins. Then we want to tell Jenkins that once we are done building this application, put it in Tomcat. So Jenkins has to know where our Tomcat is. For example, Jenkins has to have the IP address of the Tomcat, that this is the Tomcat I want you to put the code. I want you to put the WAR file, the artifacts. So it needs to understand that. So that's why we have to integrate it with Jenkins, so that Jenkins will know the location for our artifact. Then we're going to deploy the WAR file to Tomcat. Then we are going to access it with the Tomcat URL. Then you see the change. We're going to make a change on the code. Then you see the change coming up immediately, like right immediately on the website. So again, these are what we be covering today. Any question before we quickly proceed to the lab part? No question. Everyone is clear with pipeline. Again, I think this will be like the third class I'll be talking about pipeline. It's the importance is very key, and even myself, it takes me time to really like understand it very well, like because again, now I'm not coming from from the background of a developer. I don't know what they do, but as a DevOps guy, you'll be building this pipeline for them. You don't have to write the code at this point. This source code, this one that say git push is the developer that will be doing git push. But you have to integrate their GitHub to the pipeline, integrate how it will be built, everything. As a DevOps guy, you have to know that. I mean, you may not in the real life, you may not have to build this from the scratch. And even if you have to build it from the scratch, it will be like a teamwork. It's not only you that will. But for the sake of this class, we are going to do that, and then so that you understand it. And again, don't interview. Those are what you will talk about. And then, okay, this is what's the pipeline. I mean, many interview I used to have them, they will ask you, okay, how does your pipeline look like? Can you explain to me your pipeline from the point where they push the code? So you tell them that, okay, this is because different companies have different kind of pipeline structure. Some company can be just 4 stages like this. Some company can be 6 different stages. So some interviewer will just throw it to you that, okay, describe how your pipeline look like, and then you explain, okay, this is it. After the developer push their codes to the GitHub, Jenkins will pick up the changes, build the application. Then we're going to perform testing. There's a stage to perform testing. Then there's a stage to perform code scanning. We're still going to do that with SonarQube. So and after that, then we deploy to staging environment. So you can explain something like this. Then then we do automated deployment to staging environment. then, or maybe you deploy to like JFrog Artifactory or whatever. Then after that, the QA will perform testing on the code, on the artifacts, then before they deploy it into production, some stuff like that, those are what is required when they ask some of those questions in the interview. So,
sorry, and on these different stages, what's the difference between the test stage and this staging under deployment or under deploy?
Yeah, this test staging, these are basically just a script. It could be just 2 lines. In our case, we can use MVM test. This could be, these are kind of is different from, in this stage, these are more kind of like advanced testing they will do in this staging. Staging environment is like, in some cases, they call it like pre-prod. These are environment you're about to put it into production. At this stage, it has literally become a real application and stuff like that. So this one, in most cases, will be automated, will be done automatically. They can write like a script to perform the testing. There are some, developer can write tests or whatever, so they will write this thing, and this thing will be included in Jenkins. Jenkins will perform all this action, the testing and everything, the build. So, but Jenkins, the artifact, the output, that's what they will. This staging is just like a server. It can be like a bunch of server, maybe 10 server, they call them staging. There's a way they will like isolate them from other server. So this will be like a server or whatever. In most cases, it will be a server holding some of the artifacts. So, so once they deploy it to this staging, the QA will do more manual testing. In most cases, they will do manual testing this time, run it, maybe in this case, put it into like a mobile phone to see how it works. You understand? They are doing like a real life testing at this stage, but in this testing stage is just more like, that's why they say unit test, integration test. It's just, unit test is just like to test some part of the code and stuff like that. Then integration test is like to test the code and to test the code end to end. So at this stage, it's still, automated kind of testing that's being performed at this stage, and it will be done within Jenkins or within your pipeline. So, but once you get to this could be server. In most cases, this stage will be server, and the QA will be doing manual testing against it because they are ready to put it in production. So, it will be like real life. The application may be running real life at this stage. This can be another Tomcat, in real life, they can have another Tomcat in staging, just to see how the application looks like. Because again, production is very critical. They don't want to mess with it. So they will do, QA will do more extensive testing on the application before they now put it in production. That's just the difference between those two stages. Yeah, again, staging.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, they call them environments. In most cases, you have staging, you have production, you have testing, you have development environment. Development environment can be like, okay, where they just play around, just, it's not so serious, where they write the code, you do stuff there. Then when they get to like staging, you are about to get into production, and it will, in most cases, what you have in production, you will literally have it in staging, because they do more like testing there, and see how the application run. They can like simulate a traffic in staging to see that, okay, how will this application handle traffic? How will this new version of application, when they can do so many things in staging, because when they get to production, you don't want to put something bad, something that will affect your user there at all. So that is that's why staging environment is very critical, and it's like next to production. And in some company they can call it pre-prod, which is pre-production environment. So again, it's more like simulation of the real. There could be bunch of server, bunch of EC2 running the application, and they are just testing it, checking things out there to see if everything works the way it's supposed to work. So yeah, so that's it. So again, I'm into my AWS console right now. Let's have my this thing. So any other question before we go into the lab? Okay. Yeah. So again, I will show my dashboard again. This is what we did. This is how my dashboard looked like from last week. Again, this is the code we pushed there. If you remember this guy, we talk about this thing. This is what we generated with Maven and we push it here. And that is the code we'll be working with. And then again, if you see my Jenkins server, the dashboard, this is how it looks like. If you remember, this is the name that I gave the project. Again, you can have multiple jobs here and stuff like that, depending. So, again, let me show the artifact again. You see, if I go to workspace now, I click on this folder, it stores under targets. So if I click on targets now, you see, this is the WAR file, and this is what you are deploying. If you are deploying it in any environment, this is the main thing you need. It's it's very, very critical. The WAR file, if you are putting it in like Artifactory or whatever, these are the things you want to deploy. So again, right now we have it on Jenkins. That's why we can't access it. We can't do anything. But now we want to deploy this WAR file. We want to deploy it to another server completely so that we can able to access. We see what is inside this application. What is the content of this application you are seeing right here in GitHub? You just see a bunch of code, nothing. Okay, what's the content? We already built it. If you remember, we already built it through. Let me show. Let me go to configure. Just to give us refresh our memory of last class. Again, we trigger it from Git. We said that, okay, Git, go to my GitHub account, pull this job out, pull this code out, which is this guy right here, pull this out, So I give the Jenkins my URL to work with. Then, again, from master branch, again, you can see you can have multiple branch. I'm working on master branch, from Git, just specify that here. Then we talk about this pull SCM, we talk about the star. That just means it will trigger every minute, whenever there's a code change, it will trigger. Then the main thing is right here that we specify that Maven should do a clean install package. So this we build it and it will package it. So basically this is the stage where we build the application, this stage, if you remember from last week. So we add this stage and this is the main place that build the application. So, now today, what we're going to do, you see this post build action is asking us that, okay, last week we didn't put anything there. That's why we just built the application, nothing happened. We didn't even see, we couldn't even access the application or do anything. But now we are going to check this post build action. That's okay, post, like, what post is? After build, what should I do? After I build this application, what should I do? That's the question. So that's what we're going to use Tomcat to do. So we're now going to tell Jenkins that, okay, after you build this application, can you please put it in Tomcat Server, throw it in Tomcat Server, and that's, we'll select some option here, put our Tomcat, integrate our Tomcat with it, and do stuff. So you see there are a bunch of options you can do here. You can archive it. Archiving it is like when I talked about JFrog, Artifact, and Mesos, they archive the artifacts. Again, the artifacts are your WAR file that you see just now. So, but now we're not doing any of those. We're not archiving it, or we're not storing it anywhere. We just want to put it on a Tomcat server, and that's it. So that we can access the application. So that's what we're going to do today. So first thing, I'm going to install the Tomcat server, for everyone to see. So again, we're going to use another application, another server entirely, So I'm going to click on launch instances right now. I think I'm logged out. I don't know. Okay, I'm not. So I'm going to use Ubuntu just for consistency's sake, nothing special. You can use any distro. You just have to check how to install Tomcat there. So I'm going to leave everything as default right here. I'm going to leave everything as default. Tag, let me give it a name. Name, I would say Tomcat Server like this. So I'll go to security group. Again, Tomcat Server by default, if you go to Google, it runs on port 8080. There's a way you can customize the port to run on some. You remember Jenkins also runs on 8080. So, but it's in another server. So we're not going to have any conflict. Of course, we are launching another server. So it will be a different IP address. It will be different from Jenkins, of course. So, we'll be good. So, but assuming we want to install Tomcat on this same machine, we'll not be able to access it on 8080 because there'll be conflict. Jenkins is running on it, and now you want to put Tomcat there. Again, there's a way you can customize it and say that, okay, Tomcat run on port 8090 or run on port 9090. You can customize it, if you like. But again, we're going to use it as default because we are using another server and we're not going to have any conflict, so we don't have to. So I will select a security group here that have a port 8080 open. I'm sure some of you should have that, but make sure you have it open, you have port 8080 open because we are going to access the Tomcat. We're going to access it just like we access our Jenkins. So please take note of that. I have a lot of them open, a lot of security group here. I think I will delete some of them. So, but again, I just selected one, then, port 8080 is open, everybody's happy. Let me review it. Then I'm just going to click on launch server. Then my key pair, I think I will select this because if I let me check my file. I want to see the key I have on this computer. If I go to download, okay, I think I have this key, which is the new key. So I'm just going to select that key pair just to make sure so that I can access my server. So I'm just going to click on launch. So then I'm going to view my instances. Then I'm going to use my item this time. Again, item is very similar to Git Bash, very similar. So nothing to, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Item, and preferences. Let me see view. I just want to make it a little bit bigger, make text bigger. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, so yeah, I believe you guys can see my terminal very well. So yeah, so I'm just going to use item. Right now I'm inside my desktop folder, so again, if I check my computer now, I know my key, it's not in desktop, of course, so it's inside download. So again, using this thing, so I will get out in this folder because I'm inside desktop now. So I will use CD ... to get out from desktop. Then I will CD into download. Just a little bit refreshment of our Linux command. So by default I was in desktop. If you're in download by default, you don't need to do anything. Or if you're in your home directory by default, you just have to CD to download. So again, just understanding the concept once again. So I think my Tomcat is up and running now. This is the Tomcat server that again, you can just rename it right here. If you don't set up the tag from start, you can rename it here and it will be the same. So I'm going to click on connect. Then I'm just going to, since I'm using SSH client, I'm going to copy this part. Then I'm going back to my item to paste it there. Hopefully I don't have any error. Yeah, so it's asking So, if you say, you have Ubuntu at some random stuff, know that you are inside this thing. I'm inside my terminal right now. And I think, so the first thing you mostly do once you launch instance like that, you want to like update the what's it called, the repository, which is the apt in this case, so you want to do sudo apt update. So this will like just update, because this apt is like a repository that have a lot of software installed there. So you just want to update it to make sure that everything is in place. Nothing serious here, nothing tricky. I'm just trying to update it. Then I have some bunch of command to do the installation. Then I will be throwing that in the comment section as well. So again, everything is updated. So I'll clear my screen again. Then let me share the command I just ran now in the distance. So basically the command, again, I will show it again in case in case anyone is trying to access the distance. So basically we are installing Tomcat 9. We're installing, install Tomcat 9, Tomcat docs. I really don't know what this doc does, but it's just installing 3 different kind of Tomcat application. This is the Tomcat 9, this is the Tomcat docs. Then the other one is Tomcat admin. So the -y is just telling it yes. If I don't add the -y there, it will prompt me to answer yes. You remember all the stuff that, it will prompt you to answer yes or no. So I'm just going to enter Control-C to get out because I already ran this command. So Control-C will allow you to exit this thing, but that's the command. And then the next command is, I wish that would be the only command, but unfortunately not. So the next command would be with copying some directory. Seriously, I try to even understand what they're copying there, but I just know they copying some of the directory. Let me share that in the distance again. So again, nothing, we're just trying to do some installation for the Tomcat, and mostly that's how in some company, they may have Tomcat run already. You don't have to install it, you don't have to do anything, but even if you have to install it, it's just a matter of going online, reading documentation, documents and stuff like that to know how to do the setup. In some cases, they will have Tomcat running already. You just have to integrate it to the pipeline, to the Jenkins, and that's it. So so don't really stress too much about trying to understand some of what those. It could be very tricky sometimes. But here, what I know is that the copying. Yeah, what I know is that the copy, CP is copy, -r means recursory, so they copying everything in this admin directory, copying it into this. The -v is for verbose or whatever. So again, they just copying the content of what is there to another directory for some reason, which I don't really know. So I'm going to run that command again. So so again, you see, it's showing all this arrow that this is copy, 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 just showing that it's copying from one place to the other. So the next one we are going to do, we are going to edit a file. So there's this file we're going to edit, which again, I'll post let me clear the screen, it's looking dirty. So let me post it on the comment. Again, I will send all these commands to you again after even the last one. I don't think it's a, so this one will just allow you to edit that particular directory. So you see a random, this is what they call XML file. It's like a script kind of, I don't really know much how to use it or stuff like that. Those are some of the configuration file they do. So we are not doing much, actually, honestly. We're just going to add some things to this file. That's it, nothing crazy. And what we're going to add also, I have it, copied somewhere, just to let you know that I'm not a magician, or, I have to consult online and stuff like that too. So, but I'll paste it in the distance. So, but I understand what it does, but it just give us access give us chance to be able to access our Tomcat server and stuff like that. So again, where we are going to put it is in the end of this file. So now what you can do, you can press down button all the way to the end, or another shortcut you can do if you want to jump to the end of this file, just Shift G, just enter Shift G on your laptop. It will put you to the end of the file, because we are going to put this file at the end completely. So Shift G, you can do it manually and be pressing the down arrow, because you can't really scroll through. Vim is kind of very tricky. So, but it has some shortcuts. Even me too, I don't really know all the shortcuts. There's some of the one I usually use, I kind of know them. So if you enter Shift G, it will take you all the way. But make sure you have escape. You are under, you press escape button before that. So I'm inside the last part of this code or whatever. So I'm going to put you see where my cursor is before the last this thing. That's where I'm going to paste the script that I have here. So I'm going to paste it right here. So like this. So you see, I pasted that particular script, right? Let me put it there. So this is what I copy some of all this thing online, and what we actually need to understand there is, this password, this first password that's a Tomcat username, Tomcat password. Again, you can use anything here. You can decide to customize this the way you want, but we are going to need this. We are going to need this to set up so that Jenkins will be able to talk to our Tomcat. So this is just telling us that this person is a manager. The user is a manager script. That will be Jenkins in this case. So we will provide Jenkins with this information, the username and the password, so that Jenkins will be able to talk and deploy our application to Tomcat. So basically that's what it does. And for this admin part of it, it allows you to access Tomcat in the GUI, which is the interface on the web. So you use admin. I set this up actually, admin, password admin. Again, this is like a syntax for XML. We'll not really be using this much, except for maybe Tomcat or whatever. But, there's nothing too tricky here like that. Most of all these things, they comment them out already. These are the only one we are using. All these things are commented out. So, they don't have any. This is the main script we are saying here. So, this is the main thing. Again, I copy it somewhere, I think I just customize the password and that's it. So, nothing serious. And the only thing we need to note here is the username and the password. Username is Tomcat, password is password. So that's the main thing to know. Then I'm going to exit this guy now. Escape WQ, enter. So to exit my distance. So we do that. Good news is we are done. What we have to do now, we have to restart Tomcat. We have to reboot it. Just like you reboot your computer. So there's a command to do that, system CTM restart. So that would be Tomcat, because this is Tomcat 9, that would be Tomcat 9. So basically, system CTL, it's like the service they use in Linux, so we just restarting it, so sudo system CTL restart Tomcat. We restarting it because we make those changes there, So I'm going to enter this. Then I can check the status by saying systemctl, then here to the status right here. So, oh, sorry, I think the spelling is wrong. So here will be status, then you see active here that it's running. So once you see this, that means your Tomcat is good. You see the timestamp, it tells us that Tomcat is running. Then I can exit this by pressing Q. So if I press Q, it will take me out. So again, this is the command, and I'll put it in the chat again for your reference. That's sudo systemctl restart Tomcat 9. The name is Tomcat 9. Again, I check all this configuration out before I come to the class, and I make sure. So basically, this is then for status, you just change it to status. Yeah, so it was a restart before. Then if you want to check the status, if you want to stop it, for example, you can just change this to stop, stop. Then if you want to start it manually, you can say start. At this point, it will start it will do everything. But now our Tomcat is running. I'm going to use Control-C right here. I don't want to run the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the IP address, the public IP address. Again, you can get that different places. This is the public IP address of the Tomcat. So again, it runs on port 8080. So I'm going to paste it in my browser right here. Then column 8080 like this. So once you see this, your Tomcat is up and running at this stage. So you see that it works, blah, 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 you get different things, So that's it, our Tomcat is up and running now. Now what we are going to do is we are going to deploy the application on this Tomcat. Then we are going to check it out and see what happened. So I'm going back to my Jenkins now. Now we install Tomcat. Again, Tomcat is running on a separate server. Let me go back to my EC2, to my AWS. Tomcat is running on this guy. I install Tomcat right here. Then Jenkins is running on this. So there are two different applications, two different servers. So but now I want to get the output of Jenkins right here, put it inside this guy here, so to run. So I will go to my Jenkins, yes, leave. So I'll go to my Jenkins dashboard again, on page. Again, one of the main places you work most with Jenkins is manage Jenkins right here. If I click on manage Jenkins, again, when I started talking about Jenkins, I talked about the plugins. Plugins is very critical with Jenkins. It allows it to customize, to do so many things, integration, especially, because you are integrating many things with it. You integrate GitHub with it, integrate Maven with it, integrate Tomcat, integrate some testing tool, integrate a lot of things you can do with Jenkins. So you can integrate Docker with it, everything. So it does that with the plugin. So if I click on manage plugin now, then what I will do is that you go to available. So available is installed is the one I have installed. These are the plugin I have by default on my this thing. A lot of them you see. Some I don't even know how they got there, when we started. Some I don't use them, I don't need some of them, but they are there. So you see that on that install. But if you want to download new plugin, you go to available. And now the name of the plugin we are going to download is called deploy to container. So I'll type deploy to container, just like you're searching for something on this thing. So it pop it out already. And if you read this, it said artifact uploaders. So what we want to use this guy for is to help us to deploy our application to a container called Tomcat. Tomcat is kind of called container, because it's kind of like a container that holds our web application. So I'm going to click on this check button right here. Then I'm going to click on install without restart. I want to install it without restart. You can do it and restart it, but mostly you don't have to restart it. So you click on install without restart, then it will keep loading like this, pending, for a few seconds, then it will, everything, it's downloaded now. So we have the plugin set up. So what we have to do now again is let's go to our job. So we have our plugin set up and, so let's go to the job we worked on. Again, this is the dashboard. We see we are not under any job. So that's why we see manage. So now you have to click on the job you want to work with. This is the pipeline, not a pipeline like a job we did the last time, more like our pipeline for now. Let's just call it pipeline for now. So let's click on it. Then you go to configure. Configure is just like you want to edit it. When I click this configure now, you see that it will take you to where you are familiar with that. Oh, this is where we started our setup from, So configure will just take you there. So you can scroll, again, you see all the setup we did last time, you see Maven build. Now we are interested in this part, post-build action. That, okay, after we build this code, what do you want to do with it? That's post-build actions. Now we want to tell Jenkins that we want to deploy it to Tomcat. So if I click on this drop down now, so because we download this, we download the plugin, that's why you see this option there. This option was not there before. I don't know if some of you noticed that, but this option was not there before. But after we download the plugin, we have this option that says deploy WAR to a container. Deploy WAR or EAR. I think EAR is enterprise application or whatever. So, but we are working with WAR in this class, WAR. So we see this option there because we downloaded that plugin. If we don't download that plugin, we'll not be able to achieve that with Tomcat. So you see other option there, published with JUnit, whatever. So we are going to click this specific one, deploy WAR to a container. So I'm going to click on it. Let's see the option it gives me. So this is telling me that deploy WAR to a container is asking about the WAR file. Again, you can have different WAR file. So now what I'm going to do, I click on this question mark. I want to see some of the hints. So it tells me that, okay, I can just get anything with this guy here. So I'm just going to copy this right here. Come on, see, I think. And I'm going to put it here. Again, some of all those things, you can see it online. You don't have to. So what this thing is just saying is that deploy, the asterisk sign just means, especially in Linux, this thing means anything. So it's just telling you that anything that ends with .war, that's what you are looking for. Any file that you see that ends with WAR, that ends with WAR, that's why this star is there. This double star is just anything, then, anything that ends with WAR, that's what you are looking for. I mean, you can specify if you have a specific file you are targeting, you want to deploy, you can write the name of the file explicitly here, that maybe, okay, my code.war, or maybe my app.war, maybe that's the name of the WAR file. Again, if you say this thing, we have a WAR file on Jenkins already. So we are telling it that any file that ends with WAR file, deploy it. So this content part, actually you can put anything there. So I'm just going to put my app. So because this is where we are going to this is where we are going to access the application. This is the part we are going to use to access it. So I don't know if we leave it as default, it will work. I don't know if we leave it empty, but just put any part here. Any part is okay, any word or anything at this point. So another main thing we have to do here is add container, like this drop down. So if I click on add container, you see a bunch of options I have, a lot of them, JBox. These are different places you can deploy it. Again, we are working with Tomcat 9, remote. So you see option for Tomcat 9, click that. So Jenkins is now asking us to provide information about our Tomcat. One of them is what they call credential in Jenkins. We can set that up before, but now if you see, we don't have anything done. So if you click on this add, then you see Jenkins, you click on Jenkins. So it will take you to this place. Then it's asking you the username. This is the username I told you about in the console that you should definitely try to remember. Let me just show it briefly again. This is the username. the Tomcat, the password, this is what Jenkins is asking us. So I'm going to exit it with just Q. I don't want to save it or do anything. So, so here it's Tomcat, right like this. Then the password is password. I'm putting password as the password now. This has to be right because Jenkins is trying to find a way to get into our Tomcat server so that I can do the deployment. So this ID, you have to give it any name. Actually, just give it Tomcat to make life easy. Give it any name. Description, it's very optional. You don't have to do anything. So I do this. The main thing is the username and the password. You have to choose right here. Then I'll click add. Add, we just add it. So I put add now, everybody's happy. So once you put add, you see nothing happen here. So now you click on this drop down again, none, then you see the credential that you just created. So you click on that and Jenkins is happy that everything looks okay. Another thing Jenkins is asking you is this URL. That, okay, what is the IP address? Again, for you to access anything, you need IP address, you need the port number. That's why I spent some time to explain the port number and the IP address in the other class. So the Jenkins asking for the URL. So our URL in companies, they will have a custom URL. They will not be using the IP address directly. They have like maybe tomcat.firstbank.com. Maybe that will be their custom URL in this case. There's a way to customize that. Again, this is just a lab class, and that's kind of a basic thing to do, to like map IP address to like a URL. But in companies, they have money, they can do things. So that's how they do those stuff. The URL will be like a URL, real this thing. But in our case, this is our URL, guys. The IP address and the port. So I'm just going to copy it directly from here, then, okay. Then I'm going to go to Jenkins, then I'm going to paste it with Jenkins. Again, make sure HTTP blah, blah is there. This is the part that Jenkins wants. Again, you are good now. Everything looks okay. We put the username password there. We put the name of the stuff here. Again, we're under post build action. I know it's a lot of stuff. Again, you can add it. You can add another deployment. Maybe you have another place you want to deploy it to. You can add another one, do different things. Maybe you have another server that, you want to deploy to. You can add it here, do the same thing. Then automatically everything will be uniform. So you can deploy to more stuff here. Maybe you have a JBox application or whatever, So it's very, so it's very, very important. And again, it's post-build action. So I'm just going to save it. I think we are good here. Hopefully, we don't have any error. So now everything looks good now. So let me show you. Okay, so everything looks good now. Then again, this is our Tomcat application again. So I'm just going to hide this floating meeting. So, okay, so again, now we can build, you remember we used to build and stuff like that. So to automate it, matter of fact, let us do that, So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to edit the code. Then I want Jenkins to pick it up, build it, and deploy it. Right now, if you see it again, this is where we have the Wi-Fi. We have the Wi-Fi right here. So, but now Jenkins will search for this guy, then we deploy it to Tomcat. Then we'll be able to see how the application looks like. So what I want to do now, I can build it manually here. I can just click on build now. Maybe I will just do that. So I will click on build now, not to do git add and So I'm building now. I click on build now. You see at the bottom here, it's moving. We are building it and it was successful. You can click on this, then you see the output. You see a lot of things that's done. Build. You see right here, say attempting to deploy one Wi-Fi. Then it says it deployed the Wi-Fi. the Wi-Fi to Tomcat. That's what it's saying there. So normally, and again, the part we specify is, let me see the part I specify again. If I go to my configure Jenkins, then if I go to, okay, my app. So right now, the way we can access this one is, this is the IP address, then I will say / my app. So normally we should be able to see the application right here. Again, this is from the Tomcat IP address, guys, So Jenkins pick up the application, deploy it to Tomcat right here. So you say we can view the application and this on this part. So let me do something and you see our continuous integration. We trigger this manually, of course. We just said build now. Now I don't want to do it manually. I want to act like in the DevOps world. So I'm going to clone the repository now. Again, I will log in with any server or whatever. I can log in with even my computer. It doesn't matter. But I want to clone the repository. Then I want to push changes to the repository. I want to update the code. Then you see how the live application will be updated. So let me copy the URL. I just want to clone. Again, I can make the changes right here directly on this code. This is the main source code. This is the main source code right here. The index.jps. This is the source code. This is the word you are just saying right here. Welcome from Techdavez. So this is what you are saying on this terminal right here. This is the source code. But I can make the changes directly, but that's not a best practice to really do things. So I'm going to go back to my terminal and make the changes. So let me do git clone right here. Or do I have anything here? No, I don't. So I'm going to do git clone. Then I'm going to provide the URL because again, I want you guys to be very comfortable with Git also, so that's why I'm trying to do this. So I'm going to clone the repository. So if I use ls now, then I have my repository right here. Again, you can do this on your maybe Git bash directly without being on EC2 or whatever. So I'm going to cd into this directory, then ls, then cd into this again because the code is inside many folder, so that's why I'm just going in. So I'm going to cd into, and I don't know the direct path, even though I will just go there straight. Then I'm going to cd into main. Then, okay, I think one more cd into web app. So now I have this is what I want to edit now. Okay, so this is what I want to edit. So I will say vim, index.jsp. Then let me, let me change it to welcome, hello from Techdavez. Techdavez. I'm not that creative, so let me just say again. So maybe a developer now come to the code. It's developer that will be editing the code. It's none of you. But I just want to show the demo how everything works. So this is what they call HTML template. It's nothing. It's basically this just saying the headings. This is the heading. This is the color code. Again, I'll change this color code. You guys will see. So I'm just going to make this change and just add again. So then I will escape :w. Oh shit. So I do escape :wq enter. So I made the change now. What I will do is git add again. If you remember, that's why I'm doing this. Just to give us our git commit -m first update or whatever. You can put any text there. Then git push. Now we are pushing again at this stage. See, our application is just showing hello from Techdavez. Okay, so I'm floating. So so where's my terminal again? So I will do git push origin master at this point. Then I'll put my username Kenku23. Then I'll put the password underscore. I think I put the wrong password. Sorry, guys. So I will run the git push again. Okay. 23. Let me put the password. Hopefully I'm right this time. So I'm pushing it to this GitHub. Again, from DevOps parties, normally without touching Jenkins, Jenkins should perform the number. You see right now we have number 12. Jenkins should trigger in a minute now, because we tell Jenkins that whenever there's any change, build it automatically. So this is how a pipeline works real life. Developer will just do all these changes, push it to GitHub. Then, again, you see our application, then I'm going to refresh it when Jenkins is done building this. So right now, Jenkins, I think Jenkins should almost about to trigger now. We put it every minute, so it should do every minute. Okay. I don't know what is Jenkins, what is gonna okay, yeah, now you see pending, it says it's a queue, so it says finishing waiting. You see number 13. I then click on build now, automatically it starts building by itself. It will build it, then it will deploy it to Tomcat. So now if I access my Tomcat again, you see what we have in the app before. If I refresh this now, we should have the latest update there. So this is how they make changes to like website, application, real time. Again, this could be like 7 different stages that, everything will be triggered automatically. And, you see the new changes coming out real life, So we are able to deploy these changes, we build the application again, deploy it to this thing. So if anybody come again, make any changes, let me see, color blue code. So I want to change the color now, so that you see this thing, or let me say green. So I just want to change the color of the background. So, okay. So I'm just going to use one of all these, okay, let me use this. So because that's how HTML work. Again, you see this thing, blah. So, but now I'm going back to my terminal again to make the changes. So I'm going to do Vim. Again, you have to be very, very lazy in doing things. I don't want to type again. So I keep pressing my up arrow key. So now I don't want this color, because this is where I'm putting the color. And again, you don't really need to bother about knowing much about HTML, but this is where the background color yellow that you're seeing. So if I paste the new color that I just steal online, I don't even know I don't know most of the syntax, but so if I save these changes now and do the same thing again, you see the color of my website will change immediately. Git commit, I just put the same word there, it doesn't matter. And then git push origin master, and I can code 23. Again, I'm just doing this so that you guys we have the, so now again, I'm doing these changes. When this job build again, which will be number 14, it will deploy again the new version. It will deploy the new version of my code to Tomcat. Then if I refresh this page, I should see a different background color right here. If everything works well, so I should see a different, background. So I think the job should be able to trigger very soon. We stay, okay. You see number 14 is triggered now, show pending. I didn't touch it. This is continuous integration. These are done automatically. And these are the basic pipeline that, this is what they want. So if I go here now, I refresh this, you see, I have a new color, which is green, because I changed the code. I could be a developer just working and, playing, updating, and maybe the company have different requirements to change some certain part of this thing. They don't have to worry about anything, just make the changes to the code. Pow. Jenkins is the one doing most of the job. Jenkins pick up the change automatically. Jenkins know that there's a change in the code. He build it, package it to Wi-Fi, deploy it to Tomcat. Again, this is Tomcat URL. that we are viewing this thing. This is another server completely. So, and you see the changes coming out there. So that is, this concept is very important. And once you understand it, you know how everything works together. Again, Jenkins is the center of everything. You see, we integrated our Tomcat with Jenkins. We integrated Maven Git with Jenkins. Everything has to talk to Jenkins because Jenkins is the one performing Jenkins is the one assigning them that, okay, you do this for us, the next do this, the next deploy it. And this is where you deploy it. So, again, that is the basic pipeline and how it works in the real life and the, DevOps world. So this is why, companies, organizations, they're adopting all this principle because, before if they make these changes, if they don't have a pipeline, if they make the change, they have to run certain code to like, okay, once they make the code, maybe they will do Maven build, they will have to do things manually. After that, they will have to do the testing manually, although we don't have a testing integrated with this, but these are things we can add to the pipeline as well, and everything will be Jenkins will run everything end to end. Then you see that you get a new output at the end. So yeah, I know we cover a lot again, guys. So, but take your time, maybe go over it again. I will send the script I use for the installation and the process too. If you can just try it on your own, just spin up. Yeah.
Can you also send the script for the last class?
Yeah. I didn't send it right. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, if you can remember, Sha.
Yeah, I can. It's the Maven part. Yeah. I will do that.
Please.
Yeah, I will do that. Okay. Yeah, I will do that with this. Yeah. So just go over it and play with it. Once you understand this concept again, the rest is just building on it. We just be adding stuff with our pipeline now. We're going to add something they call like SonarQube, this, that, and the different things. So it's again, depending on the company, some company will have more this thing before they deploy. They will have more stages to test, to do a lot of things. So yeah, but now we just packaging it and deploying it. Yeah. Any questions, guys?
So this like this Jenkins environment now is like the production environment.
Yeah, it could be production. No, it could be mostly production environments are more like, Jenkins could be in production environment, it could be in staging or development environment too. Then they will try this out, then, they may have another pipeline in production environment, it depends. Or maybe they just have Jenkins, just single Jenkins somewhere, it doesn't have to be in any environment, maybe in development environment, it doesn't matter. The main thing is, the environment is just set of server, they kind of isolate from each other. They call this one, you can, if you do VPC on AWS, you can isolate them based on VPC. Okay, this one or account. Some company, what they do is they have different AWS accounts. So one account, everything, for example, this account we are working now, everything may be, every infrastructure you run on this account will be staging environment. Anything you do will not be in production. Then they will have another account that, only few people.
Yeah, I understand. Everything will be on that like organization.
Exactly. So they'll call the account maybe production, then they will restrict access to it very well. So they will play around with a lot of things in like staging environment, development environment, try things out and stuff, deploy some application in that. Then if everything work well before, they now move them to another environment like production. Production is the main one, again. The production, it's kind of, it doesn't really hold like a Jenkins, Jenkins is like a tool that you use. The production is like something where your user will see the application itself. This could be a production. This my SonarQube could be.
Okay, so it's like the final stage.
Final stage, yeah, where you see Facebook.com, where you see like Instagram, where that's the production. before it gets to that place that user sees it, there are so many things going on under the ground. So in the background. So, those are different environments and so the main thing is, just understanding the concept. I think the company I work with, first company I work with, they don't call it production, they call it live environment. The production environment, they call it live. Then the development environment, they call it play. Then I think they have one name too. They have play environment, they have live environment, and then I think they have one, I can't remember. So they just give it a funny name like that. So, but again, not just to like separate things, again, those could be different accounts entirely. So you as this thing, you may not even have access to production. You won't be able to log into production environment because it's very restrictive. It's, literally, they want to make sure you are working, you are doing the right thing if you are doing, if you are interacting with production, because any fucked up, it will affect everybody. Like, it's very dangerous. And again, they are doing this to reduce downtime, to avoid downtime. They don't want the application to break. You don't want to log into your Netflix and you can't access it. You are getting for error. You will likely switch to Hulu, or you won't. They will lose a lot. They will lose millions of dollars if they are down 1 hour alone. So they don't want that. So they are very careful in doing all those things and playing around with different tool environment and stuff like that. But again, this is like the foundation of pipeline, of our CI/CD was continuous integration. Then we deploy our application to work. Yeah. Any question, guys? Any question?
So
Okay.
all this code, like all the code, whatever we did on Git bash or your item, that's job of the developers.
Especially the one we are pushing there. All this one we are pushing. All this editing. Yeah.
So basically, it's their job to like push it to
GitHub.
GitHub.
Yeah. But you too, as a distance, you have to know that.
Yeah, you have to know. Okay.
And again, we'll be doing, when we get to like Terraform, we'll be writing some kind of script, not really code like that, but which is very important. And one of DevOps core principle is, you want to put everything into version control. Even if it is just a small template you are working with, even if it is just like even if it's not a real code, you want to put all your configuration in source code like GitHub, because it will allow you to collaborate better. Again, when we get to like Jenkins pipeline, you see that the pipeline say, which they call Jenkins file, it's like a script. So, so all those things, they encourage you to put them in a GitHub, because you are not the only one working on that. A lot of DevOps guys too, like you, are working on the same script. So they want anyone to be able to go there, clone it, make changes, push it back. So, but this is just application code now. This one we are just playing with is application code. So it doesn't really, so it's developer work. This is the main source code. So it's developer work to do that, to make the changes in the code and, update anything. Any question, guys?
What you be sending to us? Are you going to have the breakdown of the process, or?
Yeah. I will. With
it's complicated, one kind.
Yeah. And again, please, you can reference to the video too. If you have time, you can fast forward anyone you feel, any part you think it's it's not necessary, because that will give you. For me, honestly, some videos on concept, even like Jenkins, I can't count how many times I watch Jenkins video, like randomly, like I would like, okay, how do I, because when I did my training, it was completely not like this. I didn't, it's just, guy was just, it's a different story. But, some things you won't understand it at once. That's my point. You may have to like go over it again. If you settle down again, maybe rewatch the video and fast forward anything you feel like it's not necessary, then just go through the configuration. Shoot me a message if you have any question, and then you learn that way, and you're able to understand things better.
How can we get the Jenkins video? Is there any way we can get it?
Yes, sir. Soldier man. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. I will send it. I think the last one we did, I think it's on the YouTube this thing. The last one we did, because this is like our second class on Jenkins now. The last class we launched Jenkins, we integrate Maven with it, we created job. So I wouldn't recommend you start with this, because it's more like we're building on what we did during the last one. So but I think the video too was on this thing. But again, I will send the complete instruction as well on how to set up the configuration.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When we started this particular project, when we started building it on Jenkins, we used the freestyle project.
Yes.
And you said the next time we're going to use the pipeline.
Yes.
Okay. So, but like what you just did today is more like it's still a process of a pipeline stuff.
Yes.
You understand? So I just wanted to know if it's maybe if we are using the pipeline, it's going to be more stages.
Yes. It will be more stages, and a pipeline doesn't really have more stages like that, and it's kind of basic. I mean, again, you can do a couple of things in the freestyle. If I go to configure here, even this, you can still integrate stuff. You can still add post build. You can still add a couple of stages, but it's not like pipeline. And matter of fact, I won't lie, in real world, this thing, they use the pipeline more. But the main thing is, understanding the concept. Pipeline is just the script with Jenkins. It's just the script we'll be writing, but you need to understand like the concept first, the basic, okay, manage Jenkins, how to integrate things, because even when we go to the pipeline part of it itself, but again, this can be pipeline too, have stages. Yeah, this is just very basic, and we don't have a lot of stages. This is like 3 stages or 2 stages. We push it to Git, we build with it, then we just deploy and stuff. So, and we can replicate the same thing with the pipeline script in Jenkins, then which is something we'll be working on. If you go here, you go to new item, pipeline, it will be this one will be pipeline, and you see you won't have a lot of options. You see all those post build, all those things is not there again. Everything will be done with this script right here, and this is what they call a pipeline script, and this is how they use it mostly. You won't see a lot of options like before that you see build, post build, because everything will be done within the pipeline script. Then it used to be something like this. Let me just show you what it looks like. Again, I will explain how you can understand this thing better. We'll be working on that from next class. I will explain all these stages.
This is more like a JSON, right?
Yeah, no, it's not JSON. Yeah, it's similar to JSON, but it's not JSON like that.
Sorry, when we started this class, I thought there's not much of coding, but it's like now everything is changing. It's much of code. And when you are like when you started learning this stuff, is there any material that gives you a broad knowledge about this? Maybe that can be helpful for us, that you can recommend or something, because it's like we still need to get some kind of foundation, because everything is just like pasting, like do this.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is, again, first understanding the concept, the basic, the pasting is just about we are installing application. it's done like that, even in real job. You want to install a Tomcat, you don't sit down and be writing stuff. Here too, we will paste, but we do so much configuration. Like, okay, here, the first stage, I'll call this build, then I can say that, okay, I want to run a shell script, then I can, there are different things we will be doing from this pipeline. But again, from your perspective, they used to say something, don't reinvent the wheel. A lot of work has been done on all these things, and you can see it like a template online to start your this thing. For example, if I want to work on this thing, I want to build a pipeline with different stages. And again, unfortunately, this is not like coding. I won't say this is a coding, this is more like this thing. And it's very, when we get to like Terraform, this thing is very, you will do a lot of all these things, they are not coding, and trust me, they are not like coding. It's a little bit more difficult if you say real code, so like Python and all those things. These are more like scripting, and then some those things you can understand. This one is just saying, okay, stage, this is the first stage build, so if I come here now, I can just copy this stage. Actually, you have to know what if you don't understand it, again, it will throw you error, because these are very case sensitive and stuff like that, So just like this thing I work with, I show you guys in the first class. So I can just come here and say deploy as the second stage, then I integrate my SonarQube, my this thing already, my Tomcat, then I will have some configuration that I will put here, that's okay, deploy to SonarQube, to Tomcat, and a lot of things. So it's kind of, but this is the way you will build it. You don't reinvent nobody will ask you to like, just, you can write it from scratch. I can write basic one from scratch, but you can just pick something they've done halfway and modify it to do whatever you have to do. But the basic thing, the most important thing is you have to really understand what is going on. That, okay, stage, you must have a stage, then you must have steps, you must have stages at the top, you must know what agent is and stuff like that. So from that, you can able to customize it. This, I can have 10 different stages to do random stuff, So I've built something like this from scratch with like 7 different stages. And then, these are what I can just go online again, like, okay, how will I deploy? What is the script to deploy to like this thing? Then I'll get the script. Then I know all the configuration I have to do with this thing. And, it's nothing that serious like that, but, it's a huge part of DevOps, all those scripting. And we'll be doing that in this Jenkins. The one in Terraform is different. It's similar to this, but different too. The syntax is different. Then we'll be doing Ansible as well, which is like a script also, where it's nothing. Again, these are things you can read. If you see Python code, you may not even understand it at all. This one, if you sit down very well, you will understand what is going on. You may not just be able to really write it. But it's different from coding. Again, coding is the main. That's when you call those Java script, Python, those things. Those are coding. You put some very complicated stuff. So, but this is kind of depending on what you want to do. You can customize it, and again, you see, it's not that you don't need to cram it. You don't need to just understand. Okay, this is the syntax for Python for pipeline in Jenkins, and these are how to. Nobody in the interview will be asking you to read everything from scratch. That this is like, okay, stages, they won't ask you that, but they can ask you question about, okay, what is Jenkins pipeline? How does it work? And some of this thing, then you can explain. You can put some explanation. Okay, we have some stages. Then under it you have stage. These are just like a sub level. This is like a higher level. This is sub level, like a children. You remember when we are doing some classes in school. You have 1, then you have 1A, 1B, 1C. That's the concept of most of all these things. And if you understand it, you'll be okay. Basically, these stages, these two, they are just the children of the stages. This stage is the children of this is like assembly. This is like the mother, the parent. Then this one are just the kid. Then under the stage, it has another sub-level. Again, just like when we are in secondary school, there, they'll be like, okay, number 1A, then under 1A, you can have 1A, 1AB, stuff like that. Once you understand that concept, most of all those scripting, they follow like similar stage and, very similar, like YAML like this, it's even easier. YAML to follow like a similar syntax, then you understand some other this thing, and there's a way, they can even help you to generate some of the syntax right here. You come here, you say, okay, I want to like build the job, project name, you can generate the script, some script, and just copy, if you go to this declarative, this thing, if I do generate, you see this agent earning, that's what you see in the pipeline right here. You can use so many, go online documentation, you see the link here, but again, you must know what you are doing. You must be able to be very smart to really customize all these things, because different requirements, different company with different requirements, they are telling you that, okay, if you are using Docker image, you can use stuff like this. Those are, again, and this is Kubernetes. This is a Kubernetes template. I know all those things, all these things. This is a YAML template. This is what they call YAML. The first company I worked, they use stuff like this. So what happened is their Jenkins, the build. If you notice our Jenkins here, it's built locally. That means it built on we build the job build within the Jenkins itself. So, in some company, again, when you have a lot of project with a big application, this server will be overwhelmed, and, some things will happen. So, the company I work then, they run their script in Kubernetes. They run their build in Kubernetes. They have this template very similar to this. I think they just copy it as well, just make the changes depending on their use case and whatever, but you have to understand a lot of things to be able to edit this to suit your use case. But there's a lot of resources out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They always say that, there's so many resources, you can make different this. I can copy this stage now, start my template with that. Then this one say post build, the same thing we did in the distance. So those are some of there's nothing too serious there. Once you get the concept, you'll be able to do so many things with it. Then yeah, that's why I want us to spend more time on Jenkins very well, to really understand the main thing. Then we move to like we go to integrate SonarQube with our Jenkins, integrate everything with the pipeline. Then Mesos as well, we deploy to Mesos. Then you see some of all those tools. Just understand them and how they works, and then that's the basic thing. And all those scripts too, they like Terraform. Like if you take 10 interviews, 8 of them will ask you a lot about CI/CD. They ask you about Terraform. It's very, very key. Yeah, but again, it's not something you understand. What I do, I don't really have any go on the documentation. If you can read documentation, it's not easy to read in most cases, especially if you're just coming in. But if you can go on documentation, read them, videos are on Udemy, you see Jenkins video, the thing is just Jenkins alone, you can see a 5 hours video on that alone. So, you don't really have to spend too much time on the concept alone. That's why even like the Maven that we just talked about, or this thing, you can see a 2 hours video below. So
I do.
Yeah, so you have to really, focus on the main thing that you need for the job. And that's what we are focusing on. Yeah, but again, it's nothing that It's not like code like you think. It's very, it's something you can understand, you can check, and then, it's always like that when I started to. I think this is